Hello painters, I'm going to be doing a tutorial on color theory today. I previously did a tutorial and mentioned the three types of contrast that you use when painting. We went over hue, saturation, and value. Just as a reminder, hue is the particular color you're using on the color wheel. Saturation is how light or dark that specific color is as it gets closer to white or black. And then saturation is basically white versus black, the lightness generally. So last tutorial we covered using lightness in your miniature, and this time we're going to be focusing more on hue with a bit more touch on saturation as well. So this here is a color wheel. You may have seen images like this before, but basically if you think of the colors as a circle, hence wheel, you can see that certain colors line up across the wheel from other colors. This wheel I like because it also shows saturation. So you see the outside of the wheel is fully saturated, as we say, and the inside of the wheel is desaturated. Why am I looking at a color wheel, you ask? What relevance does this have to me? If you're not just following paint by number video from Duncan Rhodes, you're going to want to start picking which colors you put on your miniatures, or if you want to develop your own color scheme, this is what you're going to be thinking about, or should be thinking about. Even if you are painting a scheme that was thought up by somebody else, if you want to change a color, there's a way to go, and the color wheel will help you figure that out. The first and easiest color scheme to think about is what's called as analogous color scheme. The reason they call it that is because you're going to use colors that are all next to each other, or analogous, on the color wheel. So for instance, if you're doing fire, you're going to go from red to orange, or I happen to like the green to purple range, or of course you can do any colors that suit your fancy as long as you don't go too far across the wheel. The reason we don't go too far across the wheel is because you start to run into complementary colors. Complementary means they're exactly across the wheel from each other. Red and green, purple and yellow, orange and blue, these are the most common complements that you'll see. A complementary color scheme will most often use most of the miniature in one color, and then the highlights will be the complement. One tip that I've found is that if you're going to use one of the colors, the opposite should be a different saturation value. This will make sure that the emphasis is, well, emphasized. The one thing that you'll want to keep an eye on is that certain color complements are trickier to use than others. For instance, if you look across the wheel at red and green, they are almost exactly the same value. If you have a red-green contrast, it's actually going to be a little jarring for the eye. Again, this is a good reason to use different saturation values. The most pleasing complement is generally purple to yellow, because there is the kind of built-in value contrast there. It's blue and orange is also another one. These are easy to use and almost easily pleasing to the eye. Of course, most miniatures are going to need more than just two colors on them. So the way to split it up is severalfold, but the easiest one to kind of see is what's called a split complementary scheme. So instead of using the direct complement, you're going to use the shades to either side of the complement. So if your main color is purple, then maybe you'll use a bright yellow and a dark orange rather than the direct complement. My favorite color go-to is actually referred to a split analogous color scheme, where the bulk of your miniature is going to be an analogous color scheme, and then to highlight, you'll use the direct opposite of one of them. This allows for a great range of color and good contrast. So for instance, in this scheme, maybe you're painting a fiery phoenix, and to highlight that, maybe put some blue on the base, or a rider, or perhaps a collar or something like that. There are, of course, other color schemes out there. There's the square and some triad where you're using an equilateral triangle around the color wheel, but honestly, they don't come out good. You don't want to use more than three main colors in a scheme, and the analogous complementary is the best way to do that. Everything else just ends up looking confused. Like for instance, blue and red really don't go together very well. So here follows a couple examples from my own collection. The Fire Slayer is an analogous color scheme. If you'll notice that gold is an orange/yellow and so connects with the other pieces. Silver is a very neutral color. You can kind of consider it a either cold or warm gray. This is a Vampire Lord, another analogous color scheme. The black and silver, again, they're essentially just black and white, so they don't add or detract from the red/pink color scheme. Here is a crypt flare that I did very quickly. It's basically just washes and dry brushes. This is an example of a very desaturated analogous color scheme. The blue horror is an example of a complementary color scheme. You'll see that it's all blue, but some of the orange is picked out as highlights. Here is one of my iron jaws. The red and green works okay, and then they've picked out the yellow as a highlight. Here is a complementary scheme, essentially purple and yellow, with the Lord Castellan. And here is a analogous split complementary. It's purple to blue, and then the yellow is the opposite of the purple. Both the gold and the bone serve as the yellow in this color scheme. The green of the grass is almost too far over the color wheel from blue to work with this, but it fits my scenery, so it's in there. So I hope this has helped. Color theory is a very large topic. There are plenty of online resources to learn more. There are even other miniature painters that have color theory videos out there. I think some of them are worth a watch. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you think there's something that I haven't addressed or haven't addressed well enough, let us know and we'll do another video. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and enjoy your hobby.